bystander who is here.
I am the Wash.
And I'm Kirby Dance, again.
And we're talking about A Bug's Life.
I like that pause. Dramatic effect.
You said that as hokey as you could.
In the editing, I want you to fit a drum roll in between sentences.
And have it just cut off randomly, too. Like, it's just like mid-drum roll, like, A Bug's Life.
I will say, I haven't finished editing the first episode, so I'm going to put that drum roll in, and it will only make sense once people get to the second episode.
Yes, I am in heavy support of that.
All right, so we all watched A Bug's Life, some sooner than others.
Wash has had a few days to get the movie and his opinions of it through his mind.
You had a few hours.
I watched it this afternoon.
I watched it literally.
I haven't been thinking too much about it. I think my thoughts on it are pretty concrete right now. But a certain someone here,
a certain bystander here, decided I has watched it in like a few minutes ago.
It was a half hour ago, and the only reason it was a half hour ago was because it took us a half hour to set up the recording.
That was a disaster.
Yeah, A Bug's Life. So,
yes.
When was it? What did we start with Toy Story?
The history with the movie.
Well, yeah. Bug's Life was the second film syndrome of Pixar, and a lot of people were like, is Toy Story a fluke? Is it the only thing that's going to happen that's good from them? And A Bug's Life was basically Pixar saying, no, we're still cool.
I do remember thinking that at the age of 4. Is Pixar as a company?
Well, I mean, like, historically, behind the scenes.
Yes.
But
If
you mean, like,
yes.
I actually didn't own a, real copy of Toy Story, because I just recorded it, but my parents actually did own a VHS copy of A Bug's Life that I own, and I probably watched it a bit more than Toy Story when I was a kid.
I watched the heck out of the Bug's Life VHS when I was a kid.
Did you know that they had different VHS covers?
Yes, I did. I thought that was really cool. I was really upset as a kid that I got stuck with Dot.
I got stuck with Dot.
Oh my god, I did not know this.
I got stuck with Dot when I was a kid. I was so upset.
Oh, I was happy to have the beautiful butterfly.
Was Dot the spider?
No, Dot was the little ant.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think we know how Wash feels about the film.
Well, you'd be surprised.
The characters were so memorable to him.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that, yeah. All right.
I did watch the heck out of it as a kid, though. My two most watched Pixar movies as a kid were probably Monsters, Inc. and Toy Story, but I did watch A Bug's Life a lot as a kid. I do remember plopping in front of the TV a lot to watch the VHS. And when I was a kid, I did really like it. Even into adulthood. Not as much as when I was a kid, but for the most part, throughout the years, I did like Bug's Life quite a bit.
Yeah, and I had quite the same experience. I'm pretty sure I had that same VHS. I think it was my uncle's VHS tape actually, but we watched the heck out of it either way. We'll talk about it later, but I do have the distinct memory of laughing my butt off at the bloopers in the credits.
That's the only thing I didn't see.
One of the best parts of the movie. Spoilers. Spoilers, but it's one of the best parts of the movie.
And then Woody comes in. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's our impression of Bug's Life. And if we're saying the bloopers are the best part, that...
I will say that because it was just kind of like a part of my childhood. And then I hadn't watched it since my childhood. And I remember as I was getting into high school and such, I just had this... Buzz Life, it doesn't have as high of a rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And as I was growing up, I just kind of it was boring, probably. And then I actually rewatched it in high school, and I was surprised. I was surprised that it, how much of it still works, how much of it was still really funny. There were some weaker elements, and I'll definitely talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so we'll definitely talk about that.
It has a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way. I'm on the page right now. I just looked it up. 92.
Wow.
Ironically enough, it feels like it was a movie made in 1992.
Yeah.
With all the casting choices.
Oh, yeah.
Like a ton of television actors.
Is it, what's his face? Like, Raymond? Or like the guy from Everybody Loves Raymond in this one?
The guy from Raymond's brother in the movie.
That's right. John Ratzenberger is in this movie.
That's not Raymond's brother, but yes, he is in this movie. Shocker.
He's in this movie, and it, like I said in the last episode, it was probably a big coincidence, like that they rehired him. But once they hired him again in Toy Story 3, it was like,
do you mean Toy Story 2?
Gotta make it a thing.
Toy Story 2, you mean?
Toy Story 2. My bad.
Yeah. So let's get on to the movie.
I guess I can start with the basic plot synopsis.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was doing a little bit of research on it, and I actually found that this is actually based on an Aesop fable. This is based on the fable The Ant and the Grasshopper.
Ooh.
Do you guys know that one?
No.
The basic story is that a grasshopper is singing through it's just singing and playing around while the ants are preparing food for the winter. And then once the winter comes in, the grasshopper wants to have the food, but the ant is like, no, go die in the snow, or something like that. It's a very mean-spirited fable.
Perfect Pixar film material.
Makes you question if Hopper is really the villain or not.
But that's the thing. The original concept was they just wanted to do a movie about insects. They're still in the middle of Toy Story production, and they're like, okay, for the next film, insects are still gonna be relatively easy to do with CGI because of the smooth textures and all. We can work with that. So Disney just kind of gave them the ant and the grasshopper idea, and they said, well, if we're talking about real life, the grasshopper could just take the ant's food. And that's the premise of A Bug's Life. The grasshoppers they've almost like brainwashed the ants into just giving them the food and just like festering this idea that like it's a dark world out there. You're gonna get the bugs are gonna be out to get you.
Let us protect you, and you'll give us food.
Yes,
pretty much.
Let us protect you as long as you give us food each year. And they just been working year after year, struggling to make it, until one inventive ant named Flick, played by Dave Foley, screws it all up like horribly,
massively,
loses all of their food, and Hopper the grasshopper, the lead grasshopper,
just Hopper the way you said Hopper the grasshopper.
Hopper
that made me laugh. Okay, continue.
Hopper, the lead grasshopper, gives them another chance to get the food until the last leaf falls. Flick is put on trial, and he suddenly has an idea. I'm going to go out to the city and get some warrior bugs to protect us from the grasshoppers. And they love this idea because, frankly, it just means that Flick gets out of their hair. So at that point, he finds some bugs that he's sure to be the fiercest warrior bugs. They just beaten up some tough flies, but it turns out that they're all circus bugs who just got fired. Flick thinks that the circus bugs are warrior bugs. The circus bugs thinks Flick is a talent scout. And it's not until they come back to the village and the circus bugs see the dangers that is ahead of them that they have to suddenly lie about what just happened. As the film goes on, they try to build a bird together. Everything works out merrily until the leader of the circus shows up and reveals that the bugs are in fact circus bugs. They're all clowns. And the ants have no chance now to defeat the grasshoppers. Or do they?
Dun dun dun. And so it's up to Flick. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
So it's up to
Flick.
Up to Flick and the circus bugs in order to save the anthill from Hopper and the grasshoppers.
Yes. And then they all live happily ever after? Question mark.
Except for
Hopper.
Not Hopper.
And also there's no Bugs Life. There's no Bugs Life 2. There's no Bugs Life 2. It's not happening.
Listen, if you pay close attention to Toy Story 2.
Oh god, I almost fell off my chair.
Oh my god.
Alright. Anyway,
I'm keeping that
So
in.
long story short, Flick is an inventor who wants to help his colony, but his fellow ants just don't understand him. Through a wild series of misunderstandings, Flick hires some circus bugs to drive off the grasshoppers. Will Flick's colony understand him, or will a bug's life be more...
A bug's life be bigger than it sounds.
I didn't have that written down, so when I got to the end, all I could think was, how do I finish this?
I will give you props because until you started there, I thought you were reading off of IMDb.
No, I didn't read that. That was impromptu.
I'm impressed.
Good work.
All right, so what should we talk about the movie first? Because I have an interesting fact about the movie in general, but if we're gonna start with characters, it's not appropriate to.
Well, I mean, if you have an interesting fact, I think that's a good place to start as any.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, apparently, I was with my mom when I was watching this, and I was talking about my nephew, and and I was like, did he like this movie? And she goes, not really. And I go, why? And because he thought it was scary.
Scary?
Yeah.
Scary?
Like, if you really think about it, the grasshoppers in this movie are terrifying.
The grasshopper's okay, but everything else?
It was more like certain moments of the grasshoppers. Like, yeah. The grasshoppers were terrifying to him, so he didn't really like it that much.
And I will give you one fact to build on top of this, because I just read about this earlier. The character design, they originally were gonna make this like true to life, but they couldn't make it like true to life while still looking appealing and looking like something like you would care about.
Yeah.
They made the ants have 2 arms and 2 legs, but they actually added 2 extra legs to the grasshoppers to make them look even more frightening.
Interesting.
Oh god, the extra legs!
The grasshoppers have 4 legs, but they gave them 2 extras because it wasn't scary enough.
This is the inverse of that Toy Story 1 thing I was talking about last time with Woody and Buzz being on equal footing.
But yeah, they were terrifying apparently for him, and I laugh at it, but my mom goes, "It's scary. It is." And there were moments where the grasshoppers in particular were like genuinely terrifying, like. And I was like, oh, maybe that's why it's not really that marketable in Pixar anymore.
Yeah, this is a much more classic sort of villain. I mean, it's still a villain with a really core motivation, which is Hopper is essentially scared of the ants. And it's when Flick realizes that the whole ants like come together and they defeat Hopper.
Yeah, that scene was cool. But
yes. Yeah,
but yeah, that is his motivation. He's basically using the ants for his own personal gain, and even though he knows they won't be able to survive without them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, there's that great scene where Hopper just he demonstrates the power of the ants with a puny little grain. This one little grain do it? No. Did this one? No. How about this? And he just crushes. There were 3 guys whose idea it was, and he crushes them all.
Yeah, he killed them. They're dead.
Yeah, they're dead.
They're dead. We don't see them.
They're
Top
dead.
10 worst.
Yeah. I would say one of Pixar's worst deaths in the movie, but that's not true.
No.
That is not true. But
no.
Yeah, this movie was not afraid to like be more adult at points than other Pixar films.
I want to go that far.
I will say that this because like I found like an old review where one critic described Toy Story as spring-loaded elusive prankishness, which is a very good description. Was it like, well, okay, let's amp up the quotability and let's amp up the jokes even further in A Bug's Life? They started production on this before Toy Story had entered theaters. Like they were getting it ready. I also noticed that 2 of the 3 writers credited in this, their previous writing credits was Hercules.
Oh wow. That explains a lot. That explains a lot.
And especially explains like all these crazy different personalities that come up. Like when you compare it to Toy Story, like the core is Woody and Buzz, and you know their sort of background and their development a lot more than the side characters. Although they do have their own sort of growth and their own sort of arc. But with this one, it's a massive cast, and the cast becomes hit and miss.
Yeah, reflecting on that, while I do like the plot of this movie, you can't really talk about the plot without the characters.
Yeah, I do have something to speak about with the plot, but let's first get into the characters. Starting with Flick.
Boring.
Yeah.
Yes, boring.
This may
He's
be because...
boring. He's bland. His voice is so normy. Everything about this guy screams predictability, start to finish. Nothing he said was remotely interesting, unique, or fun. Memorable, fun, anything.
Yeah.
Everything he said came out of the book of normal things to say in a movie.
The puns were some of the puns like I found funny, but coming out of him, like a lot of it just fell on deaf ears. I guess there's supposed to be like a love thing, a crush thing with Princess Ada.
God, that was so out of nowhere and forced.
Yeah, it showed up like a couple times, and then at the very end, Flick gets the girl, and yeah. This film has a lot of trouble with cliches, but I will get to that when we talk about plot.
Yeah, this may be because I think it's my nostalgia talking right now. I don't mind Flick as much as you guys do, but I do see why you could find him boring, because he does feels like he is just there for the plot. His design is literally he's just a blue ant. He doesn't have any
if the movie didn't make such a big deal of literally putting spotlight on him, an actual spotlight on him, I would have a hard time differentiating him from the other ants. But the movie makes it such a big point because they knew that this character was so bland and boring and so lookalike to everybody else. They literally put a spotlight on him so you would know, oh, this is Flick.
It's funny you mentioned the color, because in the original script for this, the original script is actually quite different from it. Flick was originally a red ant named Red, so that was how he was distinguished from the other ants. And more crucially, his original role was as the ringleader of the circus bugs.
Ooh.
Red, as he was called then, he was going to have heard about it from they lose their circus work, and then he hears some ants that are recruiting some warriors, and he says to the circus bugs, hey, let's pretend that we're warriors so we can get a gig and we can do some side work, I guess, with these desperate ants. Once they had that idea, the trouble becomes, okay, how the heck do you make the circus bugs likable? Because the whole thing is that they knowingly lied to the poor, desperate ants, and all of a sudden they're supposed to have a change of heart and be like, we're actually gonna help out these ants.
Yeah, good point.
They were getting pretty far into the animation, and then Andrew Stanton, one of the screenwriters, just had a really hard time sitting well with that concept. So they essentially started from scratch. And just redid the plot and changed Red into Flick. And
I really wish they changed up his design though. Maybe if you just kept the red ant thing and just made it the same, that would make him probably a little bit more interesting.
With Hopper, they give the backstory that he got attacked by a bird and he's scared of birds. And one of the ways that you can distinguish him from the others is that he has this large scar on his eye, and the eye itself is a little bit white. He's damaged on the outside and the inside.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with Flick like that? The Flick doesn't have anything like that.
I wish they kept him red.
I don't, because if they did it red, then people would be like, well, if he's red, then he can't be in one of the other ants because he's a red ant or a fire ant. It's a different species from the rest of the ants. With Princess Ada, her distinction is that she's wearing a crown.
Even a small one, but a crown. You just give him a hat.
Give him a baseball cap
with a cheese logo.
Give him a personality.
Yeah.
Give him a personality. Yeah.
We all don't like Flick. I like him more than you guys, but
I mean the one personality they gave him was really being an inventor. An inventor like a.
You could argue that he thinks quickly on his feet, but that's about it.
I mean, if you're gonna be a protagonist, you kind of gotta.
It's kind of required.
Especially with like a premise like this, the whole thing is that there's some huge misunderstanding, and you got to figure out a new plan.
Yeah.
So I will say this about Flick. This annoys me every time I watch the movie, and it still does. The whole thing with Flick being an inventor in the opening part of the movie, when Flick is using his invention for practical purposes, and he's just kind of throwing the leaves or the leaves on the plant like away carelessly, and it hits what's her name? I can't even remember her name.
Princess Adder.
Adder, thank you. And everyone's yelling, "Oh, Flick, you and your inventions are a waste of time." No, it's not.
No,
just have Flick fire the leaves somewhere else where it's not going to hit anybody. And look at that. This is a brilliant invention. But the status quo of the movie is that Flick is an inventor who's not understood by his colony. You gotta feel bad for Flick. You know, you gotta realize that no one in the colony likes him or his misunderstood ideas. It's all just so painful.
Everyone is saying, "Get back in line." Yeah.
So painful. It's painful. It's so painful.
I know.
And then by the end of it, once Hopper dies, and they cut back to after the winter.
After the rain.
After the rain, yeah. Oh yeah, it was after the rain. Yeah, once they cut back after that, like you can see like a whole bunch of ants that are using Flick's invention, and the first one we see with that same guy who was like, "Get back in line."
Yeah, and he's using Flick's invention. Yep.
Yep, and he developed as a character. He changed his mind.
What?
Yeah, I know. People can change their minds.
Yeah.
Alright, enough about Flick. The circus bugs.
Well, no, because we do have a couple of other ants that are quite crucial to the plot.
Very true. We have Ada, which
boring.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's so boring. Another
She's
character.
Stressed out. That's a personality.
Character. Everything she does, everything she says, every way she develops, you can see it coming from the 5-minute mark.
Yeah. Dot is
annoying.
I thought you were going to say boring, but that works too. I wanted
to, and she is boring technically, but I thought she was annoying too. Changing it up.
The little kid character.
She literally had the line, "Just you wait."
Yes, oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Whenever she screams, it's that every little girl scream you've heard in a movie scream. I hate it.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm assuming no one's going to bring this character up.
The grandma?
But an observation that I made, literally like the frame that I saw her. The Queen. Have either of you played Oddworld?
I played a little bit of that as a kid, but I remember...
So go to Google Images, look up Oddworld Munch, and tell me it's not like almost a spitting image of the Queen.
Oh. Okay, so...
What?
Yes. So,
as soon as she came on screen, I was just... That's Oddworld.
For those of you listening, Kirby just posted a picture of... What is the picture of?
Munch. His name is Munch. I mean, you can show it in the post editing, but that is spitting image of the Queen. Yeah. It's the eyes. I know it's really just the eyes, but immediately the first thing I thought of was just immediately I thought of Oddworld.
Like even the discoloration is yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. Wow.
In fairness, Munch's Oddysee came out after Bug's Life did, so I'm not saying they're ripping it off. But first thing I thought of, and I had it written in the notes because I took notes this time. I had that written in the notes the only notes that I have in all caps are the Queen looks like Munch and oh my god, I forgot Randy Newman sung a song in the end credits and it's worse than the songs in Toy Story 1.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Once a bug, little bug.
Randy Newman sings in the really quick tangent. The song Randy Newman sings during the end credits is even worse and tangent.
It's the time of your life, so live it well. It only goes around one time, far as I can tell. It's the time of your life, It's the time of your life.
Oh my god.
It's the time.
I don't know how they managed to make it worse.
So live it well.
I really thought Strange Things was the worst, but oh my god, this is so much worse.
Okay, I was gonna say we should save that for the end, but there's no way we're gonna get to repeat what Rando just did.
Yeah.
Yes, the end credits music was jarring, to say the least.
I forgot.
And I completely forgot about it.
I literally turned it off like 3 lines in. Because I was like, nope, I watched the movie. That's all I need to watch.
Oh, you didn't watch the bloopers?
No, I didn't, because I was running out of time, and I didn't think it would take that long to set up.
Okay. So, anyway, getting back to what we were talking about.
The Queen was not as boring, in my opinion.
It was okay. When it is revealed that the circus bugs are just circus bugs and they're not warrior bugs, Flick's still trying to convince everybody, no, we can still do the bird. It can work. It's going to work. And the Queen comes up to him. I have this written down in quotes. The Queen walks up to him and says, I never thought I'd see the day an ant would put himself over the rest of his colony. What?
Even Flick said that.
Yes, and that's the second part. I have the note continues. It makes absolutely zero sense, and Flick responds by going, what? That's what I said. I said, what? And then Flick echoed it. It was the one time I thought, yeah, Flick. But I'm thinking, not Flick, you're boring. But that makes no sense. He's trying to help his colony. That's the whole reason he's doing this.
The only clue that I saw during this was that, like, right after this, Ada says, the point is, you lied to us.
Yeah, so now you're putting yourselves over the rest of the colony. Like, what? And yeah, I know Flick, another reason that Flick didn't want the truth to be revealed was because they'd be making fun of him and they'd be mad at him and blah, blah, blah. But by that point, he actually thought of an idea that would work, and he thought of that idea, part to help himself, but also to save the colony.
Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah. They did it for the plot.
It's so stupid. It's bad. This is bad. This is a bad movie. He's gonna come out and say it now. Okay. This movie is bad.
Wow,
you're going over that far.
I'm not sure if I can go quite.
I wouldn't call it bad.
I'll get back to that at the end.
I would call it flawed.
I let loose too early.
Hopper's good.
Yeah.
Hopper is not a twist villain, and probably one of the good things about the 90s. They're villains.
Toy Story 2 was the 2000s. Was it?
Yeah,
Was it? Or was
I think it was. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Either way. But yeah, Hopper was... He was bad to the bone since the beginning of the film. And, Hopper was intimidating, but he even had some goofy moments, especially with Molt.
He's very, very reminiscent of like a classic Disney villain.
Yeah.
Especially like a Renaissance Disney villain. It's essentially evil and he knows it. I mean, there's a little bit of a backstory, but it's just pure malice towards the ants. Like he was fully ready to squish the Queen.
A detail about Hopper that I really liked was you could tell when he got really angry because you could see his eye would twitch. I think it might have been the eye that was attacked by the bird. I'm not positive on that one, but his eye would twitch. And that would almost be him holding himself back because once he let loose, his eye wouldn't twitch anymore because he was really angry at that point. But when he was holding it in, you could see him trying to hold it in because his eye would twitch. That is a brilliant detail. I really like that.
I swear, if I hadn't promised Mother on her deathbed that I wouldn't kill you, I would kill you. And believe me, no one appreciates that more than I do. Shut up. I don't want to hear.
Richard Kind is a gem.
I like when they're out of the ant colony, where they were in that can or wherever they were, and Hopper was getting the massage, and the brother comes up and he goes, "Hey, do you want to hear about my plan?" "No." "Oh, all right." And then he starts to go away. He's like, "I guess I'll leave then." "Good." "All right. Well, if you want to know."
But this is the one where one thing about some 90s movies is that you kind of find the villains more interesting than the heroes.
Oh, well.
At least with Flick.
I am definitely of the opinion that the grasshoppers in general were the best part of the movie.
Yeah, the grasshoppers were fun villains, I'd say. And while Hopper was intimidating, the rest kind of were like comic relief. Except for Thumper, who was just scary.
I will note that this film really cranks up with the Disney references. Like, we have the grasshopper named Thumper. Like, earlier in the movie, Hopper says, she said something like, "It's a buggy's bug world out there." One of those circle of life kinds of things.
You hear one of the ants, like, when Flea comes to the ant colony, and they see something, you hear him go, "Jiminy H. Cricket!"
Yeah, they really cranked up, and I have a feeling that a lot of that came from the Hercules writers.
Yep. But, the circus bugs. Things that I didn't notice, when,
You're the Bugs Life defender here.
Yeah, I know, but I kind of liked some of them.
Some of the circus bugs were better than others.
Yes. And some of them had arcs. Some of them I don't know how.
Okay, let's get this out of the way, because I know probably none of us liked them. The rolling bugs.
The rolling bugs, yeah, those ones.
The minions.
Yeah, the minions.
Again.
Okay, so
they were the closest thing to minions in the movie. Yeah.
So they contribute something to the plot. They're the reason why Hopper lets the circus bugs perform towards the end of the movie. They did something, but that's all they were good for. Moving on.
One of the only aspects where they were like absolutely crucial to the plot, as they're flying back to the ant colony, Flick explains like what's happening and that they have to defeat all these grasshoppers. But he says it to the only two people who can understand English.
Yeah,
that too.
And then that's their use. And then
Moving on. Moving on.
Yeah.
There are more interesting ones to talk about. Like I said, some of them are better than the others. They get funny lines, which I think is good enough.
Some just had interesting designs, like the stink bug. I think it was. Was he a stink bug?
Stink bug?
Oh, you're talking
he
about
was a beetle. A beetle.
You're talking about the beetle. Oh, the dung beetle.
The dung beetle. Yes, his design was cool, but I wouldn't really call him that interesting. He was just like a. He was just like a big.
Oh yeah, that one. Okay.
Yeah, I think his name is Skid, and he's like, "Skid, don't wanna go." And
I thought it was Dim.
What is it?
What's his name? Who cares?
It's just a Bug's Life. But either way, the dung beetle. Yeah, interesting design, but they could have used the brother and Everybody Loves Raymond more.
So. This probably wasn't actually the best quote of the movie, but I have written down in the notes.
What's the point of going out there? They'll only laugh at me.
That's because you're a clown!
I'm just gonna say right up front here, pretty much the only circus bugs I care about are P.T. Flea, Slim, and Heimlich.
I know P.T. Flea.
P.T. Flea is the best one.
Slim is the stick bug.
Okay, yeah, he's the stick bug, and who's the other?
Heimlich is the caterpillar.
I will argue... Okay. One more, maybe, but that's maybe because I don't know. This one may be a bit more topical to talk about these days. Francis.
Who's Francis?
The ladybug.
Hold on.
Do you not remember the ladybug?
I remember the ladybug.
I remember the ladybug.
Yeah,
yeah. I was looking it up. Is it like is there something topical about Dennis Leary? I was really confused.
No. It's not really about. It's just like this. Made me thinking too deep into it. There was like a whole bunch of gender jokes with and I'm just thinking now, I'm being like, ooh, that may be a problem now.
I actually found that like
I mean
a lot of it just kind of like fell apart with that sort of like they think that Francis is a woman. A couple of the scenes actually at least came from a genuine spot of of finding his feminine side.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of okay with.
A big thing with a lot of the circus bugs, and kind of why they're mostly missed compared to hit for me, was that with the circus bugs, it was, here's their gimmick, have fun with that for the rest of the movie. But Francis the Ladybug actually did, find his feminine side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
although
yeah,
they do refer to Frances as her a lot, if not all the time.
Well, they kind of switch back and forth, and the fact that their name is Francis kind of gives you a clue that this is an androgynous character.
Yeah. Again, something I didn't really think about when I was first watching it as a kid. But...
No. I did come in prepared, but I won't say surprised, but I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't as awful as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. For what, I definitely wasn't thinking about that when I was a 4-year-old. I was thinking, was Toy Story a fluke? Is Pixar going to flop?
Totally. But yeah, that was, I mean, I like Francis because they had an arc. Although, while I do like Francis, I agree, Slim and Heimlich are the best parts, the best circus bugs in the movie, except for P.T. Flea.
I wrote down so many lines from both Heimlich and Slim because they're two opposites in many ways, and I love both of them. I love the optimism of Heimlich.
Slow down, you flowers!
Then I adore the dry sense of humor from Slim. Like
Swish, swish, clang, clang.
One of the best of the movie is when the circus bugs are trying to fly away from the colony, and Flick is just holding on to Slim and he won't let go.
Let go! I'm desperate! Really? I couldn't tell!
When the circus bugs are trying to chase after Hopper, Francis is carrying Slim, and they go through a tree, and suddenly, like, Francis loses Slim, and it says, "I'm over here. I'm the only stick with eyeballs,"
And we don't see him.
We don't see him.
I was so tempted to pause that and actually see if he was in the shot.
I don't think he was actually in the shot.
Aw.
I don't believe he was.
That would have been
I did pause. I didn't see him. I'm not saying that means he's not there. I didn't have the best quality watching it, but there's a chance he was there, but I don't think he was. I didn't see him.
I remember watching this on Blu-ray and actually pausing through and trying to look through. As far as I can tell, I can't see the two eyeballs anywhere in there. And I think that's part of the joke.
Yes, absolutely. I wasn't too crazy about Heimlich, but I definitely like Slim and I definitely like P.T. Flea.
Yeah, P.T. Flea. Well, we got to talk about P.T. Flea.
Yeah.
Oh my
John
God.
Ratzenberger's finest performance, I think. Possibly even better than Ham.
John Ratzenberger absolutely should be playing more incredibly greedy people.
He knocked it out of the park. He did a great job.
And he's pretty much like greedy to the very end. He didn't have an arc. He just stayed like.
He just stayed the way he was.
If you let me go, I'll think about paying you.
You always cast me as the broom, the pole, the stick, a splinter.
You're a walking stick! It's funny!
You parasite.
Oh my God. I accept that pun at least.
Yeah, it works. Just his energy in the role, like, you could tell he puts everything into it. And that's probably why they made him a tradition. Ham's more laid back and chill, but then you just see him as P.T. Flea, and he just goes off the walls.
Oh God. Yeah,
Literally, and he's one of the highlights of the movie, and he should be in it more.
And I understand that like Heimlich is probably going to be hit and miss for a lot of people. I find him funny. And
a lot of, Slim, while probably the best and most recognizable of the circus bugs, he probably might be hit and miss for some people too. But it's really hard to not enjoy Slim and P.T. Flea the most.
If you're talking about ranking, those two are absolutely in the top. I'm saying that the three of those are pretty much the only ones worth talking about.
Yeah, the others are.
The Black Widow's is not really doing much.
Black Widow. Boring.
Really boring.
Dude, so boring.
You could make an argument that the praying mantis and the butterfly are somewhat plot relevant, but other than that, there's not really anything interesting about them.
There's that sequence as the circus bugs are running away, and then they get involved with the bird, and they try to ward off the bird, and I noticed that all of the bugs were utilized in this sequence, with the exception of the praying mantis.
It seemed like, if anything, the praying mantis was the leader. If anything.
Yeah, he was supposedly the leader, but at that point, it's like the praying mantis just seemed to have like disappeared, and then at the very end he shows up and he said, "That is the sound of applause."
But yeah, either way, he was still kind of boring.
The butterfly, I couldn't remember any of her lines.
Yeah, I remember her visuals are cool, but it didn't really do much with her otherwise.
No, it didn't. No. It was useful for warding off the bird, for confusing the bird with her wings. And then she was involved in the disappearing act.
Again, plot relevant, but not really interesting.
No. That might be a good clue to Andrew Stanton, circa 1996. Hey, you. Listen, just because a character is relevant doesn't mean they're good.
Yeah. Fish tank.
We'll get to that.
We'll get there. But for now, that one, okay, this really annoyed me about the 5th time that they played that exact same orchestral track that's supposed to show something, whimsical or whatever is happening. It is really boring. You know which one I'm talking about? Yes. Oh my god.
Yeah, that does play a lot.
I was done with it the 2nd time they played it, and they used it at least 4 or 5 times. The music is forgettable, except for those, and this is where I should be mentioning the Randy Newman songs, but we already covered that. Those are the only memorable ones, and they're not memorable for the right reasons. For all the poking fun at the Randy Newman songs in Toy Story 1 that I did, the music in the movie was good, I thought. Nothing spectacular, but I thought it was good.
Randy Newman is better at music when he doesn't have his voice in it.
Yeah, but the whole music for the whole thing for A Bug's Life, not memorable at all. The only ones that are memorable are the ones that get used over and over again, and Randy Newman.
I think the most interesting part of the movie was only around for about 5 minutes, less, and that's the city. I'm gonna say it.
The city was a pretty interesting place, I guess.
I mean, they did some things with it, but we went back to the ant colony.
Yeah, it doesn't really have the time to flesh it out.
That's visually appeasing.
There was the part where Flick first got to the city. You could maybe see how the city works, but then it immediately went to the circus bugs. Then after the circus bugs, it immediately went to the tough guy bar or whatever. Yeah, you really don't get to see any of the city. The only part of the city you get to see is, don't look at the light. I can't help it. It's so beautiful.
Which I think is the same trailer from Monsters, Inc.
Monsters, Inc.?
You know, like when a certain monster gets stuck.
What is this Monsters, Inc. you speak of? There are only 2 Pixar films.
Oh, shush.
I mean, at the moment, there are only 2 Pixar films. Toy Story and Gary's Game.
I do have in my notes that mime bug was stupid and made me laugh.
It was dumb, but at least it was interesting and
yeah,
funny.
it made me laugh because there was so many like bug jokes in the city sequence, and then that one didn't really have anything to do with it. It was just like it was a mime that was trying to mock Flick, but once Flick walked away and the mime just stayed there, yes. it just became a little sad and was funny. I have this to say on the plot.
Uh-oh, are we going to the plot now?
I guess so.
Okay, shoot.
We'll talk about the plot for Toy Story. It very much is a story about toys. The toys interact with each other like it's an office environment, but there's no like human equivalence of something like Andy.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Everybody pines over, yet also has to hide from. Bug's Life doesn't have to be about ants. It doesn't have to be about bugs. All of the plot points that you go along could easily just be about an inventor who doomed his little town from being attacked by a group of bikers, because that's essentially what the grasshoppers are. They're analogous to bikers. Even the bird, even this giant monster, it's just a rogue animal. Like, it's the bird is pretty much analogous to the crocodile from Peter Pan. Just like this ever-present fear for the villain that ultimately becomes his undoing. I feel like that's why this movie kind of falls flat. It's way too analogous of other things, and it doesn't have nearly enough to work with of just being about bugs.
See, my thing is that I don't mind so much that this is a movie that you could kind of put anything in, but my problem is that it doesn't really have an identity.
Mm-hmm.
If spoilers, but for a movie like Cars that 100% did not have to be about cars, at least that movie had an identity. The people who live at Radiator Springs and everything that happens every day, it's very homey. It gives a homey feeling to that movie. But here, I don't remember anything about anybody, just that the Queen looked like Munch. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Through the plot, the visuals, the characters, the voices, through everything. Nothing about it had its own identity.
That's fair.
That's what my problem with the plot is. It didn't have anything that separated it from anything else. It's just a movie.
I still defend A Bug's Life a little bit. I don't think it's as bad as... I wouldn't call it a bad movie. I would not call it the greatest movie ever made. It's certainly no Toy Story. I'm thankful it did well in the box office because it gave Pixar the confidence to do more films. But yes, it is a product of the times. Yes, there's a lot of problems with it. And I will just say this. If I watched Toy Story with my mom today, she would have been engaged. She would have watched it and still, actually paid attention to it. But the whole time I watched A Bug's Life, my mom was just on her phone.
That is a very good analogy. It's the kind of movie that you watch in the background while you're on your phone.
And honestly, I was on my phone at points too.
I will say this. I will say something that I liked about the movie for once. I have here among the notes. I recently, I've been paying close attention to opening shots of movies recently because I just saw a movie recently. Through the opening shot, you had a very good idea of what the movie was about, and it was brilliant, and I loved it. So for this movie, I paid very close attention to the opening shot. And the opening shot is of a leaf falling into the water and the sounds of nature. And I thought, yeah, that's good. That's good. This is a movie.
That works.
This is a movie where nature happens. And it gives off a very good vibe of what the movie would be about. Is really predictable, and then it's just really predictable.
A nature with gangster grass, like mobsterish grasshoppers and circus bugs and flammable fleas.
Flammable fleas, that's a good one.
And a bug, New York City.
and a
totally
bug.
Nature.
And a bug.
It's a great opening shot, especially.
I really liked it, and I feel like if it had actually more been a film about how nature actually works and not a bully movie, it could have worked a lot better.
If you put your mindset to 1998, the very first shot being a leaf falling into water, that had to have been breathtaking.
Yes, it's also very impressive for the time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It pans up to this gorgeous tree with all the foliage around it, and it just zooms and zooms and zooms, and then it eventually settles on this grass, and you see a little ant picking up some seeds and dropping them down, and that's the start of the film. That's what this is about.
Yes.
This is about getting food.
Fantastic.
And the closing shot ends with the same view of that, an outer version of that island as well.
And it looks just as gorgeous, except for the background.
Yeah.
Because the background is just the background feels like the generic hills that they would have had in the Pixar shorts from the 1980s. It's so flat.
It's very flat.
It doesn't feel like it's a part of the same world. The actual island, the actual tree and such, it's gorgeous. Even today, 21 years later.
Oh god, the film's over 20 years old.
Yes, the film turned 20 last year.
Over 20 years old.
The film is almost old enough to drink.
It is old enough to drink, actually. Well, no, you're right. I wasn't. You're right. It's almost. So, real quick, before we get into what our final thoughts are, because we are a little low, I'm sure this is a point we're all going to kick ourselves over if we don't talk about. So, how about Hopper's death?
Oh, yeah. Top 10 Disney deaths.
Yeah. For all the negative I've been talking about the movie, I was on the edge of my seat, even still, 21 years later, almost.
Yeah, even then I was looking about it and I was like, oh god, this is terrifying. How do you make birds terrifying?
It was big tonal whiplash because the rest of the movie is so saccharine, painfully so, and then out of nowhere is this. I think it's good, but I still really like it. But at the same time, I would almost argue that it's so sudden of a whiplash that it's out of place.
Yeah.
I mean, story-wise, it makes sense.
Yeah, story-wise, it makes sense, but
story-wise, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But I don't know. I liked it, but it was one of those things where maybe if just the rest of the movie was better, it wouldn't have been so out of nowhere.
I mean, I still thought some of the grasshoppers were scary, so I could see it coming out of nowhere, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just used to it. Maybe I'm used to the random dark Disney deaths.
The ending is the only part that scared me as a kid. That's the big thing that I'm coming from. I understand I'm an adult now, but when I was a kid...
Pixar made birds scary. How do you do that?
Yeah, but when I was a kid, nothing in the movie scared me except for Hopper's death. When I was a kid, nothing scared me. That's what I'm basing it off of. Not now. Obviously, now a lot of the things aren't going to frighten me. But when I was a kid, it was really only Hopper.
Yeah, it's still like genuinely upsetting, especially because like as it's going along, there's just like Hopper. It's just screaming in anguish.
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Yes, he is screaming the whole time. And Flick and what's her name are just like, ooh, that's bad.
Flick knows what he's doing though. He even smiles when the bird comes up, which is kind of sick.
Yeah, he smiles at him. What a sadist. I wish that was the Flick we had.
To be fair,
I wish that was the Flick we had for the rest of the movie. When Hopper looks at the bird, he goes, "Oh, is this one of your tricks?" He's just like, "Yep." So happy to trick Hopper into his own death. I wish this was the Flick we had for the rest of the movie.
I think I'm ready for final thoughts.
What about you, Wash?
We haven't actually like talked into the animation much. Aside from it just being like, it was most definitely a step up, with the exception of texture, but you know they were still working on that.
Yeah, fair enough, I guess.
Everything looks great, and they love the hell out of that rack focus. All the shots being in this like crisp, shallow focus.
Yeah.
Nothing about the visuals really stood out to me too much in the movie, but it did not look bad.
I think it looks better than Ants. I'll say it.
Oh, that's the comparison.
That's
for
a whole nother
time,
topic.
Yeah,
though.
it is a better looking movie than Ants.
I feel like it's a better movie anyway than Ants.
I mean, you don't have Woody Allen as an ant, though.
Walken.
Well, I don't really want to have Woody Allen as an ant.
I want General Christopher Walken, though.
Yeah, that's true. And Sylvester Stallone.
Final thoughts.
Yeah, I guess if you don't have anything else to say.
Well, I guess I can start. Yeah, the movie's okay. It's fine. I don't think it's necessarily bad. There were some parts of it that I still enjoy. There's some of the smaller details. Like I like the little the school play that they set up and all the jokes that they have about like elementary plays. One of the only memorable parts of Dot was this one shot where she's in the background and the teacher's talking, and you can see her like switching her eyes, like she's winking with one eye and then winking again with the other eye and just alternating back and forth, and nobody like acknowledges this, and she just like does that and then they just move on. It's just like a funny little detail. It's okay. I can't really hate it. The main character is very dull.
Yes.
I liked Slim a lot.
Slim
and I like PT Flea a lot. Those two characters alone are kind of enough to carry the film. That's my thoughts.
Random bystander.
Again, this movie is very close to me, like, in my childhood, because I watched it, possibly even more than Toy Story when I was a kid. Possibly. I don't know for sure. But, it does feel like a product of the 90s at points. And now that I know that the writers of Hercules made this film, it explains a lot about this film. And yes, there are problems. The main character is boring. A lot of the ants are boring. I could see why it doesn't come up on the list of classic Pixar films, even though it came before Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo, Incredibles, etc. Because it was their second film, and it's honestly forgotten. And there's never gonna be a Bug's Life 2. Sorry, but
there's never gonna be a Bug's Life 2. No,
I do enjoy. Not Francis. I mean Francis is cool, but I enjoy Slim and PT Flea as well, and I enjoy Hopper. Hopper's performance is Hopper as a villain is great.
Yes, almost as evil as the person who voiced him.
Yeah,
Waka Waka.
I was waiting for someone to say that, but it's alright. It makes the bird death a lot easier to watch.
Yes, I will say that it gave a tiny bit of satisfaction. Yes.
I was so tempted to not say that when you were talking about that, but hey, we're there.
I'm glad you saved it for this moment. That worked out really well.
But yeah, I like it, but yeah, it's not that. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay to be nostalgic about it. I can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does.
It's better than The Good Dinosaur.
Oh, I can't wait to get to Good Dinosaur.
we have so much to talk about with a good dinosaur, but that's like that's like
he's turning into a monster.
God, that was like 15 films away. We got a long way to go before we get to the downfall.
I'm not paying for that film. Your turn, Kirby fan.
Oh, my turn. Okay. I voiced my opinion on the movie plenty throughout. Used sickeningly saccharine to describe a lot of it at one point. I should have used sickeningly saccharine to describe more of the movie because that was ultimately what I thought of it. I thought the characters, how they were designed, how they talked, what they said, what they did. It was just did not like the story, did not like the vast majority of the characters, did not like a lot of the directions it went, not like a lot of things about the movie. If you like the movie, I get it. The saying a movie is bad doesn't really make sense because I don't like it doesn't mean nobody can like it. And I know a lot of people like it, so I understand that. To me, ultimately, the point of media is to get invested. Care. If you can't care, why even bother? I cared for a lot of movies that I don't particularly like. I can't think of too many Pixar examples because I like a lot of Pixar movies, but I did not care here. It's not the worst. I think being offensive is the worst thing, and this is certainly not an offensive movie. It's very safe, which is another problem with it.
No, it's not.
It's very safe.
For the most part, no.
But I would rather have a movie that's just kind of bad than have a movie that I don't really care about. So coming back to this movie, I'm actually not happy that I watched it again because I liked it before coming into it. I had I didn't have any hopes coming into it. I just remember coming into it thinking, all right, another Pixar movie. And I left thinking, I really don't like this. I really did not like this movie. There are some things that I like about it, but like a scoopful of things that I liked. And then all these other things that I didn't like. I'm not going to say I think it's a good movie because I grew up with it and it's Pixar. Grew up with it. I loved it as a kid. It's time to move on. I'm not a kid anymore. And no, I think the movie is not good. If you like it, all the power to you. Think what you think. Be your own person. With different opinions are how we live and grow as a society, as people. But I don't like it. In my opinion, it is a bad film.
We can at least work with a film that's bad in an interesting way rather than bad because it's boring.
Yeah. At the 30-minute mark, my dryer stopped and I had to for laundry and I had to take it out. And when I came back, I saw I was at the 33-minute mark and I thought, that's it?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the notes I have written down.
A lot of things were good about the movie, but that doesn't mean the whole movie was good.
No.
Yeah, I think that how you summed it up is kind of represents A Bug's Life very well. And with that, we are done talking about A Bug's Life, and not just because
I think this is a surprise to neither of you. But rankings: Toy Story, Bug's Life.
Bug's Life is on the bottom.
Bug's Life is on the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We agree on that. That's good.
Next week, we will be talking about Toy Story 2.
I'm down to do this once a week. I'm super down to do this once a week.
I just assumed.
A Bug's Life itself, I didn't care about, but the process of watching the movie so that I could talk with you two about it, was that I could not wait to do this. Even though I was so negative, I loved doing this. So I'm super down to doing this once a week.
Yes. And I'll maybe not schedule a stream the same time we do this. Because
oh yeah, you got to do Jackbox.
Yeah,
you gotta go on Jackbox and be like,
I was supposed to start at 8:30.
She hates Bug's Life.
For the folks listening at home, please go to twitch.tv/RandomBystanderHere to watch what is it? Love, laughs, and lots of fun.
I'm here to bring you loves, laugh, and entertainment. That's my version.
Oh yeah, lots of entertainment.
Lots of entertainment.
Yeah. So yes, please be sure to watch twitch.tv/RandomBystanderHere.
All right, and next week is Toy Story 2.
Toy Story 2. Oh boy.
I am genuinely looking forward to this because I haven't seen Toy Story 2 in quite a while. So I really want to know what my impression is.
I'm actually excited. I'm half super looking forward to it, and I'm also a little worried because as stupid as this sounds, I have been watching the heck out of a YouTube poop for Toy Story 2, so I know that whenever I'm watching Toy Story 2, all I'm going to be thinking about is that video.
There's one particular moment of Toy Story 2 that I shouldn't laugh at, but I know
that too. I know
you
I'm
all
gonna
know
laugh
what
there.
I'm talking about.
I know we're all going to laugh at that point.
When we get to that, Yeah, when we got to that. But for now, thank you very much for listening to our podcast on Pixar and the A Bug's Life 1998.
1998.
I am The Watch.
I am Random Bystander here.
And it's KirbyFan here.
And we will see you all next time.
Next time.
Bye.
All right, I'm hitting the stop button.